So today we saw Tesla stock along with the overall markets fall down in the pre-markets and also in the earlier trading sessions simply because we saw that we got an economic report showing that retail sales are rising despite a lot of financial economic stress on the consumer. And so that data this morning led to many market participants believing that it's more likely for the Feds to hike in its next meeting on November 1st. And so when you take a look into the future markets, we actually see that they're actually pricing in a little bit higher now from yesterday that the Feds are gonna hike. Just yesterday it was sitting at 6% and now today it's sitting at 12%. However, I do want to provide a friendly reminder that not too long ago we saw this as high as up to 30%. And one thing that I've been saying is that it's very unlikely for the Feds to hike because in reality, the Feds do not need to hike. And it's more likely that we're going to see this number contract even further down as we get closer to November 1st, because like I said, the Feds don't need to hike since there are previous hikes that still haven't made its way into the economy. Now, of course, the big factor that's going to be driving the price action for Tesla is going to be its earnings report that is coming out after the market close for tomorrow. Now, something interesting we got today were the Lucid production numbers for Q3, which didn't look too well. In fact, many have quoted Lucid as being the Tesla killer, but when you take a look at their numbers each quarter, it looks like they're falling down in deliveries. Versus when you take a look at Tesla, this is something where you see delivery numbers increasing every single year and pretty much every single quarter. Now, just yesterday in a video, I talked a little bit about some concerns for Tesla's earnings report and of course its forward guidance, and I pointed out how we want to pay attention to the commentary on price cuts and margin compressions, as that was a huge issue that we saw in last earnings report, as well as delivery guidance. See, we've heard Tesla say that they're not too worried about profit margins because they're really just scaling up the deliveries of their vehicles and they're going to be able to make the profits back with fully self-driving. So this is also something that we want to hear about. Now, just recently we had Cathie Wood make some commentary about Tesla on CNBC, and I just real quickly want to play this clip for you guys.
I got to ask you about Tesla and Elon. Tesla's still your largest holding. It's up 100% this year. You got a real winner there. Has Elon Musk been able to refocus on Tesla now that he has somebody else running X? Do you have any insight into that or feeling about that?
I think that Elon is a troubleshooter, and the troubles at X are not over yet, of course. We're seeing that in just recent days when they've said, the Israeli conflict and all of the drama around it has caused another hit to advertising revenues. So I think these difficult times, though, spur Elon's creativity. He is a troubleshooter and a brilliant technologist. So we think that each time he does face turmoil like this, that the intensity of his brain cells takes him to new answers. And, we've seen this at Tesla every step along the way. Tesla, now that EVs are scaling and he's got that machine in place, so to speak, we have now the autonomous side. And I think he's really focused on that. So yes, I think it has his attention. He knows and believes, I think, that they're close to the finish line with this latest software upgrade, so much so that they're now hiring ride-hail experts in different cities around the country. That is going to be a game changer. And we don't think he's lost any focus.
And so what we hear from Cathie Wood is that the narrative is still the same, that she's really more concerned about fully self-driving, and that's her real bull case for Tesla. Now, something interesting about this is that there's a huge divide, even within the Tesla community, about Tesla's capability of actually doing fully self-driving. On one end, you hear a bunch of Tesla owners saying that fully self-driving is just a gimmick, and it's not going to be something that actually passes regulation. But then on the other side, you have many individuals saying, wait a minute, but we have Cruise and Waymo already being able to perform its operations in some cities in America. And so why not Tesla in the future, and how this is going to be a huge driver of revenue. But then going back to the other end, you have individuals saying that Cruise and Waymo are able to do this in select cities simply because of the fact that they have LiDAR and other radar technologies on their vehicles. And then going back to the other side again, you have individuals saying, hey, but did you see the last last update with FSD when Elon made that live stream, and how it's pretty much growing at a rapid pace because of AI. And so there's a huge divide on whether or not FSD is going to be something that actually comes into fruition. But something that I feel is not talked about that often, and of course it's simply because it's hard to put a valuation on it now, is the idea of robotics for Tesla. See, many are saying, hey, well, if Tesla's capable of training its AI to go ahead and help navigate FSD for its vehicles, what about having the humanoid Optimus robots being able to have cameras and pretty much use AI to mimic behaviors that other consumers may be doing? For example, maybe you could have the robot watch you do dishes and then have it be able to be programmed to go ahead and do the same thing and do dishes. Now, of course, it's hard to put a valuation on it now. We've heard in the past, Elon Musk has said in previous earnings calls that the humanoid Optimus robots are going to be what makes Tesla the most valuable company in the world. Now, of course, I'm paraphrasing, but he did say something along those lines in a previous earnings call. But what we also heard that was a bit disappointing is that there weren't too many of these robots actually made. I believe it was around like 3 to 6 of them. And also the materials to actually source to get these robots built is honestly something that's still a challenge for Tesla. And so hearing an update on that is also something that we're going to be wanting to hear in this forward guidance on Tesla's earnings for tomorrow, which of course I'll keep you guys updated. So if you're not subscribed to the channel now, consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on any future videos. But with that said, I want us to hop into my laptop so that we could go ahead and take a look at Tesla stock from a technical perspective and just have some additional conversations on what we're seeing with the overall landscape for the markets, and as well as what we could see happening for Tesla. Alrighty, so we are officially in my laptop taking a look at Tesla stock. Now, for the remainder of this video, we're going to go ahead and talk about the price action of what we saw for today. Also talk about what can we expect for the price action after the earnings report for Tesla. I'm going to go ahead and touch on that, but also highlight some news that I found pretty interesting today. Now, going into the price action, or what price I think Tesla is going to be after its earnings report. This was a question that I got very frequently. It wasn't just on YouTube comments, but it was also on emails and also DMs. Many individuals asked, what do I see Tesla's price being after the earnings report? Now, I'm very flattered that many of you guys believe I have a crystal ball, but the truth is, and the reality is, far less mythical, right? I don't have a crystal ball, and so just like everyone else, I have to wait for the earnings report to come out. Yes, I have my estimates just like everyone else does, but I still have to see what the numbers look like. And then, of course, there's still that nuance where you want to listen to the forward guidance because that has an influence on the price as well. For example, estimates that Wall Street has for Tesla's earnings is that they're expecting, I believe, $24 billion for revenue, which would be up 12% year over year. Earnings per share, Wall Street is expecting 74 cents. Sorry, correction, 74 cents as earnings per share, which would be around like 22-ish% year over year. And then they're expecting automotive gross margins to be 19%. Now, we'll go ahead and talk about that, but I actually want to show you guys a unique way to kind of have a guesstimate of how Tesla is going to move after its earnings report. Now, I want you guys to be aware that this is just a guesstimate, and there's several different ways to come up with a guesstimate on this. There's some analysts where they'll do just look at historic movements in price after an earnings report. You could also look at technicals. I mean, there's several different ways, but I'm going to show you a way using options pricing, and it's not complicated math. I'll go ahead and do this. For those of you guys that don't care about this part or don't want to know how to kind of guess approximately how much the stock will move after its earnings, you could completely skip this part of this video, but we'll go ahead and pull up a simple calculator right over here. So the first thing is, of course, on your Windows computer, you're going to want to switch this to scientific calculator, and you're going to want to collect 3 different pieces of data, right? So the first thing is you want to collect the price that the stock closed at. So let's put this down real quick. So we see that Tesla closed today at around $254.85. So that's the one number that we want to remember. And then, of course, we want to look at the implied volatility, and what we're going to want to look at is the closest expiration date and at the money, and we see that the implied volatility so far is at around 78.70%. Okay, so that's a number we're going to want to remember, 78.70. And then lastly, you're going to want to do just some simple math. So The simple math is calculating the time factor. So we're going to do 1 divided by 365 days because we're trying to get an estimate of like a 1 day time frame, which would be the earnings after, or the price action after the report. And so you would do 1 divided by 365. This is a number we get, but then you want to square root that. And again, I'm walking you guys through this. It's not crazy. And then you do this number times the price that we recently got, which was 254. Let me just double check this real quick. It was like 254.85. Okay, so we're gonna multiply this by 254.85. And then lastly, you're going to want to multiply this by the implied volatility on the closest option expiration time frame, right? So we're going to go ahead and multiply this by, I believe it was 78.70. All right, so we're going to do multiply this by 0.7870, and then you just hit equal. And so this number right here, again, it's just a estimate, but we based on using like this options pricing, we could expect Tesla's earnings to either move up or down $10.49. Again, this is an estimate, and we'll definitely see how Tesla ends up after the earnings report for tomorrow. And this is something that this is what we're seeing now, but again, you'll probably want to do this with the numbers that we get for tomorrow. So again, this is the estimates for today using options. If you see Tesla close tomorrow, you'll want to do the same exact math, and that will give you an estimation of, okay, well, it could either move plus or down $10.49. And of course, the direction of it is going to really be geared towards how the actual earnings is, because of course if we have an earnings report that doesn't satisfy Wall Street and also bad forward guidance, well then most likely Tesla would fall down. And of course if we have a good earnings report, we beat earnings, the numbers look good, again we're going to parse through that all tomorrow, then of course you could expect Tesla to move up. So that's just a quick estimation. There's several different ways to do it. Some analysts just look at, okay, what did Tesla do last time, right? For example, this was the last time Tesla had earnings, and they'll just kind of just look at all of Tesla's price action from previous earnings reports and kind of like aggregate it all together and come up with a number. There's also looking at fundamentals, technicals. I mean, there's several different ways. But now that we got through that, let's go ahead and talk about firstly just the price action that we saw for today, right? So again, we talked about how we had some economic data come out at 9:15. Markets pretty much sold off, and again, it was the overall markets. It wasn't just just unique to Tesla. We saw the same pattern. Markets sold off, and then they started bouncing up as we just had this bounce in the markets. Let's go ahead and actually look at things from a daily time frame, right? So one of the things I've said is right around over here for Tesla, there's a lot of volume relative to price, which is completely different from your traditional volume relative to time. And so when there's a lot of volume relative to price, that means that at this price level, there's a lot of buying and selling pressure, which keeps the stock at an area where there's a lot of consolidation or there's supports and resistances. Last time we were at around this area, we saw Tesla go up, down, up, down, up, down. And it wasn't until it broke above this area of volume relative to price where it had that catalyst event where, we talked about it in previous videos, where it pushed upwards. And then, of course, as it started moving up, it got rejected over here by the descending trend line and ended up falling downwards and then, kind of bouncing up. And so that's where we're seeing with Tesla, right? So early days sell off, we saw a easy move up. One of the things that one of the members in the Push and Profit private group mentioned is that he recently has been looking into Heiken Ashi candlesticks, and I have a completely separate video breaking that down, looking into Heiken Ashi candlesticks, which Webull does offer that, so you could just simply switch it over, and it gives you like an average of each candlestick, how it's calculated, right? And it's completely different. And when you switch into a different chart, right, this is your traditional bar chart, but when you switch into a Heiken Ashi candlestick chart, you get to see things a lot more smoother, right? It smoothens the price action. And so one of the things this member said in the Push and Profit private group was, man, today was just a very clear day. We saw very easy to see, okay, here's when you want to short if you're day trading Tesla, right? And of course, I do trade Tesla, but I also invest in Tesla in the long term. I do want to mention that before we even continue moving forward. But going back to what one of the members said, it was like, hey, today was an easy breezy day. We got this big move up. up, then we had another selling off in the middle of the day, and then towards the end of the day, we pretty much consolidated. So if you're someone who you like trading in the short term, then you could definitely utilize Heiken Ashi candlesticks. Again, I have a whole separate video kind of breaking this down, and I'll probably just link that in the comment section below, as well as a link to my free weekly market pulse insights. So I'll probably pin a comment in this video with just a whole bunch of free resources that you guys could use, like previous videos, and also just my free weekly market pulse insights and what that is. Then there's also line charts, which I talked about in the past as well. These are good to really map out your supports and resistance levels. But now that we're kind of just fiddling around with the charts, I want to just look at something from a daily time frame. So if Tesla does move up $10, right, that would, and again, we would have to redo that estimate for tomorrow. So whatever Tesla closes, and then do that estimate. But let's just say for the time being that, you know, these are the numbers we're going to use. If Tesla were to move up $10, that would push us at like around 264. And one thing that's interesting is that we're again at this area where we're getting close to this descending trend line, and it's been an area where Tesla has been getting rejected there for quite some time. And so unless we get like some really bullish optimism from Elon Musk, and let me tell you, Elon Musk is probably one of the greatest CEOs at being able to put some hype behind a stock, right? And I don't mean this in a negative way. I mean, he'll say something like Tesla will be the most valuable company based on this, and just the choices of words he chooses can definitely push a stock upwards, like Tesla, a tremendous amount. And so if we get pretty decent earnings as well as some good optimism in the forward guidance, we could see Tesla get close to this area. And the one thing we want to see is if Tesla does break above this descending trend line, well, guess what? We are in a brand new uptrend, and that would mean, hey, things are moving forward. Do I think that's likely going to happen? No, that's just my guess. One of the things that I believe is going to be a problem for Tesla is, again, these price cuts. In fact, I want us to take a look at this. So let's actually, well, first let's talk about, we'll get into that, right? So I showed this chart before about these price cuts. Now, the good thing is the models that had the biggest price cuts recently have been the Model S, and I believe it was the Model X. Yep, the Model S and the Model X have had the biggest drops in price cuts, but this didn't happen until September 5th, and so luckily we're not going to really see this huge price cut take place in this last quarterly earnings report. So we're going to want to pay attention to that, but we did have some minor price cuts, again, with all these models, right? If we take a look at even the Model Y or take a look at the Model 3, very minuscule price cuts, and so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the profit margins. And that's, again, the main concern for Tesla, but also paying attention to the delivery guidance. That's also going to be a huge aspect that we want to pay attention to. Now, we did have some news today from Teslarati that BMW has joined the list of automakers adopting Tesla's North American charging standard. Which companies do you think are next? Now, if you're someone who's an OG of this channel, and I mean that you've been watching these videos for quite some time, when I'm talking about probably, I think it was around over here, I made a bingo card just as a joke to say, when do we get a bingo? And each like column and row was filled with a bunch of different companies like Honda, BMW, Mercedes, etc. And slowly from the last few months, we literally have seen almost every single, and I mean almost every single automaker join the Tesla supercharging network. And so this is going to help Tesla down the road. Now, a lot of them aren't going to actually be using these chargers until 2025, 2026, etc. But one thing that I'm very hyped about as a long-term investor for Tesla is I believe that when we look in the balance sheets and the income statements, or just looking at the fundamentals later on more closely, we're going to see that other services, which is where they put their charging revenue in, is going to start slowly growing. And that's another reason why I'm pretty excited for Tesla in the future, because a lot of these automakers, they don't have the infrastructure that Tesla has already been building for quite some time. And that's why Tesla's in the lead, not only in just their cars, but even just the infrastructure. But even looking at the cars, in the beginning of this video, we talked about Lucid. They can't even deliver 10,000 cars per quarter, versus Tesla is still
growing. It's still doing good numbers each single quarter and every single year. And so that's why, yeah, I trade Tesla in the short term to capture the fluctuation in price and hedge my long-term position. But my longer term account, which is my larger account, obviously, is something where I don't plan on selling Tesla unless something crazy came out the blue. And I'll definitely let you guys know when, hey, I'm gonna sell all my Tesla. But that I don't see that happening anytime soon, as I definitely expect more from Tesla going into the future. And again, we're not even considering, we can't put a valuation under robotics. We're just looking at the cars and also the idea of FSD, which I know is pretty divided on. But, I still think that the trend for EVs are growing, and Tesla's definitely going to be one of the main players that's going to continue benefiting from this trend. But with that said, I want you guys to let me know what are your thoughts for Tesla's earnings in the comment section below. Let me know if you guys trade Tesla in the short term or invest in the long term, or do both like I do. Again, you should only trade and invest with whatever you see value in. You should never copy what I say or what any other YouTuber says or any fund manager, especially the fund managers, because I've talked about in the past how Kathy Wood and Gary Black, like, they may be bullish on Tesla, but they may sell Tesla despite being bullish, simply because fund managers play by a different rule. I'm not going to go into that whole spiel right now, but you guys let me know. Before you guys go, make sure to check out the pinned comment in the comment section below. I'm going to show you guys some resources there, and I'll see you guys on this next video right over here. Take care, guys.